What is going on, guys? This is Miasin. So all you guys already know that Engage is an insane card, and if you don't, I'm really happy for you, because at least you didn't have to live through the PTSD of people going into Engage off of Engage and then Engage again into Engage for like the fourth time, even though that's kind of sus. But I've seen like all kinds of things happen, and yeah, you know, when they end with like 7 cards in hand and they're so rich that they have to discard a card on the end phase while having like 5 cards in their spell and trap zone, you know things are getting a little degenerate. But now that Engage is a 2, it's almost still the same thing, but not really, because we're not talking about the Sky Striker deck, but rather the Sky Striker engine, and just how good and splashable it is in today's day and age. Because, you know, these cards are much better than you think they are. They're not old, they didn't get power crept by the Runic engine. As a matter of fact, what I really like about the Sky Striker cards is that they almost have the same level of versatility and utility as the Runic cards, but without the drawback of no battle phase. Instead of that drawback, there's just like the gimmick of you can only use these cards if you got no monsters in your main monster zone, which is not the end of the world. You can lead immediately with your Sky Striker cards, which is still completely fine. And none of them are once per turn, which is the beauty about these cards. I absolutely love them. And again, they can bring a lot to your strategy. But before we go into any explanation on how insane these cards are, I would really appreciate you if you could smash the like and subscribe button for me real quick. And also check out my sponsors, Dueling as well as Inspire TCG. Both links will be in the description box below. And now let's get right into it. Alright, so first things first, Engage can search every single card here. Thrust can also search Engage, which is a little disgusting, because, you know, when you got a bunch of spells in your grave, Engage is a search and a draw 1, which is a little unfair. And then if you can use it again and again and again, you're gonna be plussing like crazy. But yeah, anyway, Shark Cannon is the first card that I wanted to address. So that card is basically like a DD Crow in a format where people already are playing DD Crow, Ghost Bell, Soul Release. This card is destined for greatness because you can use it to banish your opponent's Garunix or Promethean Princess, which is already a way to get rid of an interruption. The Garunix is a one-of in the Fire King Snake Eyes deck, at least. So if you can banish that, that's nice. Or you could use the second, well, I mean, the bonus effect in order to, instead of banishing it, you special summon it to your opponent's, to your own field. And the effect is non-negated, it's just that it cannot attack. But if you can summon a Garunix, then you can also get your own Fire King engine going in a way. If you got like a Fire King monster in your hand, you can pop the Kieran from the deck, and then trigger its effect, summon your Fire King monster, and destroy a card on the field, which can help you break boards while also taking care of your opponent's Garunix, which I like a lot. So I really appreciate the utility that Shark Cannon gives you in this format, especially against Fire King, but it gets even better. Now, Widow Anchor is also a, you know, a decent card, maybe potentially the best card that you can search with Engage after Hornet Drones. This card is pretty much like a Forbidden Chalice, but you really have to start with the Widow Anchor. You can't just use it while you play, because again, you can only use it when you control no monsters in your main monster zone, unlike Forbidden Chalice, which just has the flexibility of you being used like at any moment, even including during the damage step. Being able to also steal a monster is relevant. It's just it might happen a little less often, but when it does happen, then it's basically like another change of heart and stuff like that, which I think is kind of insane. Again, in a format where people might go Appaloosa, being able to just shut down that Appaloosa completely with Engage into Widow Anchor is really nice, because sometimes the Appaloosa is summoned with IP Masquerena, which makes it indestructible by card effect, so you can't rely on cards like Afterburner, but you can still rely on Widow Anchor, and that's actually pretty nice. Alright, now let's get into the best card of the entire engine, which is Hornet Drone. So this card gets you a level 1 Sky Striker Ace token on your field. This is already very insane. Oh, and by the way, it's a dark monster, which also matters a lot. This has a lot of inherent synergy with the Snake Eyes strategy, as well as just being very good going second overall. So if you can go Hornet to summon a monster on the board, your Where Art Thou can search your Snake Eyes Ash right away, and you didn't have to commit your normal summon for that, which is already very good. But then we're not done yet, because after that you can go into a Kagari and then get back the Hornet Drones again and then use it, and then you're going to be able to have a fire and a dark monster on the board, which opens up the possibility of summoning Hita or Dark, which are also combo starters, because you can crash a Hita in order to search the Snake Eyes Ash, or crash the Dark in order to search something like Magician Souls, which is very good in Snake Eyes because the field spell gives you a Populist, for example, from your deck into the spell and trap zone, or a Flamberge, and then you can send these two literally for free, draw 2 cards, and you just keep playing. That's like assuming that there was nothing to revive in your opponent's graveyard, which usually there will. The most popular attribute in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the Dark attribute, and Fire is also gaining a lot in popularity this year, with also Ash being a thing. If you can revive back your opponent's Ash, then you can climb into a Princess, and then revive back your Hita, and then go into a Raging Phoenix or something, or an Ambler Wheel, and then into a World Sea Dragon Zealantis, and Book of Eclipse the whole board, and then you can play right after that. That's just insane, because again, you didn't have to commit to your normal summon, and this was all off of one single Hornet Drones. Alternatively, you could also use that Hornet Drones to go into an SP Little Knight, but that would require you to go into like I don't know, like a Gagari, and then recycle back, and then Hayate so that you have his own, and then use the token to make a Link Rebo. SP Little Knight has to be summoned with 2 effect monsters, so that is the only little drawback, but it's still not the end of the world. Oh, and not that it matters, but if your opponent has like a Baron de Fleur in the grave, then you can go link off the Hayate as well as your other monster to go into like the Wind Charmer, and then revive back your opponent's Baron, but it's usually not gonna come up. Afterburner is a decent card, but there is very little to cover here. What I like about Afterburner is that its bonus effect actually makes it much better than Jamming Waves. Destroy a monster on the field, and then you can destroy a spell or trap card without targeting after that, and it can be like face up, face down, doesn't matter. Jamming Waves, on the other hand, it cannot out like a face up skill drain, so that is my issue, whereas Afterburner it can. So this card might be a little better to splash in, but Jamming Waves is also you know, relatively decent going second against back row decks. But the bonus effect to destroy a monster on the board without targeting is, I mean, it's cute, but it's maybe gonna come up a little less often. Now, this is one of the most interesting cards, Eagle Booster. I really like this card a lot, actually, and the reason for that is because it does things that I don't think people really are even conscious of. Like, obviously, it's kind of like a call by the grave, right? If you got like a monster in the EMZ, you can protect it from Ash, Veiler, Infinite Impermanence, potentially Nibiru, if that really matters. So that's already very good, and it's not once per turn. In a world where Call by the Grave is indirectly once per turn because it's limited, so you can play like 5 Eagle Boosters because you got 3 Eagle Boosters and 2 Engage. So if you really need like one specific monster to resolve, and like it's your main choke point of your deck, Eagle Booster is there to help you out, and that's what I really like about it. It's kind of like better than Seravis in a few ways, and also better than Call by the Grave because it protects you from Infinite Impermanence, whereas Call by the Grave doesn't. So if you really lose to that, then Eagle Booster helps you out. But the absolute beauty about Eagle Booster is that it can also be used as an interruption against your opponent, not just a way to protect yourself. So for example, against the Purely deck, if they're trying to evolve their little kitty into the big X-Purely Noir, you can chain Eagle Booster on their monster in order to prevent the Purely Yeet from evolving their monster, because you're making it unaffected by every card effects except its own. So it's basically just like a Forbidden Lance. Because of the fact that the monster is now unaffected by the Yeep, it will not be able to be used as the Xyz material for X-Purely Noir. The card's insane. I just absolutely love it. Vector Blast, this is the worst card, but in the Tier Elements deck, it's actually not too bad. If you want to play like 3 copies of this and then 2 Engage, you just mill a bunch of cards, and then if there is a bunch of spells in the grave, then you can shuffle back every monster in the extra monster zone from your opponent's field or something into the deck. So if there's like an Appaloosa, then you can get rid of it, because the Tier Elements deck really suffers against Appaloosa. So at least this kind of helps, and again, it makes it so that Engage has a search target and the potential to draw cards, which at least is something, and you're triggering a few effects because you are milling 2 cards. It's not insane, but I do think that this engine at least has the potential of being a little better than Needlebug Nest. So you can play like double Engage, 1 Hornet, and 1 Vector Blast if you want to in the Tier Element strategy. And finally, the last target is Sky Striker Mecha Modules Multi-Role, which is low-key not that bad in the Despia strategy, because you can use it and then get rid of one of your cards, and then your opponent cannot respond to your spell card activations. So when you go Branded Fusion, they can forget about ashing you. That will no longer work, because Branded Lost it's not the kind of card that prevents Branded Fusion from being ashed, only from its activation being negated, but not its effect being negated. Whereas Multi-Role, you just simply cannot respond to it, period. Regardless of what you could have like a Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, and you still cannot negate the Branded Fusion, which I really like a lot. So yeah, Multi-Role might be a decent card in Despia again. And if you're playing a build with like billions of spell cards, Engage could also make you draw cards. And that's, again, one of the most important things, because you're not just playing these cards without Engage. You are trying to play Engage, and if you can, you're also trying to play Hornet Drones so that you have access to a very powerful Link toolbox, because these Link monsters, you can all summon them, and they all have a lot of value, and that's exactly what I will be covering right now. So first of all, not a lot of people know that, but you can get your Sky Striker engine even if you draw 0 Sky Striker cards. The way to do that is by going into Azalea using any 2 light and or dark monsters, generically, by the way, so even if you got no Sky Striker cards, no problem. And then you link off the Azalea into Hayate, and then you attack directly, you send your engage. And then main phase 2, you go into Kagari, you recycle back the engage, and then you search anything of your choosing. So it's really nice, 2 light and or dark monsters, and then you give up your battle phase and you get to search engage. Azalea is also a decent extra deck toolboxy card. It's worse than SP Little Knight because it doesn't have the effect of like double banish, and also it doesn't banish anything but rather destroys, but it's still a very respectable card. So I do like Azalea as a card overall. The other things that I wanted to say, if you can go into like a Hita or a Dark, you can go into a Celine, and then you can make an Appaloosa, again, using no normal summons, with 1 single Hornet Drones. Granted, you've got a Spellcaster in your graveyard, like a Droll and Logbird or an Effect Veiler. That would be a great target to revive off the Celine, because you cannot revive the Hita as well as Dark, because Celine has to revive it specifically in defense. You can also summon from the hand, though, so if you got like a Droll or Veiler in the hand, at least you can do that. 3 or more spells in any field or grave is a joke to achieve, because it also counts like your opponent's spells and like the cards that are, again, already on the field. So if there's like an engage and a Hornet Drones in the grave, then all you need is like 1 spell to be there like anywhere else, and then you're gonna be fine. And you can also go into an Axis Code Talker, which really facilitates OTK if you climbed from a Celine, because it's going to be 5300 attack, and then you can destroy using a light attribute monster, a dark, or a fire. And if you use the fire, you can also use dark, so that you get 2 to 3 pops with Axis Code, which is not bad whatsoever. Not to mention that the Sky Striker engine is pretty nice in tandem with cards that just, you know, get you spell cards in the graveyard really quickly, like Upstart Goblin, Allure of Darkness, and Into the Void. Now that Upstart is a 3, I can also imagine a world in which Engage goes to 3. Upstart just, even though it used to be a nice card back in the days, we are in a Droll heavy format, which is the issue with the card, and the reason why Prosperity is just better, because you get to excavate like what you need, so even if you get Drolled, at least you got like the perfect card for the situation. Upstart is just like you might draw multiples, which should be good, but then you got Drolled, so it makes it like less good. Same thing with Allure of Darkness, and that is only for dark decks. And the Upstart also makes you lose in time, so that's another small little inconvenience. But yeah, if you want to splash in these cards, just make sure that you got something planned for Droll, because this card will hurt quite a lot. If you don't want to lose to Droll, then you can afford to not play Engage or not rely on it, and then only play the cards that you want to search. Instead of playing like 2 Engage with 1 Eagle Booster, you could go like 3 Eagle Boosters, 0 Engage. I just wanted to cover all the applications for these Sky Striker cards, because like I said, they are extremely good and much better than people think they are. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.